Welcome everyone, we are live. This is the F2 Miami Grand Prix. We are live here at Apex 1 in Westfield, New Jersey for a 30-minute qualifying followed by a 1.5 hour endurance race. So as you can see, we are here at the Miami International Autodrome. And for this race, all drivers will be in the FIA Formula 2 cars. So these cars running about 600 horsepower. DRS is available on all the cars for drivers. They also have 5 different tire compounds to choose from. That includes wets, super soft and soft. You have your mediums if you want to play sort of in the middle range. And then if you want to play a conservative, you do have your hard tires available as well. So I'll just go over the format for you guys before we start the race. So right now, all drivers are in a 30-minute qualifying session. This qualifying session will be split into 2 qualifying. So the first will be 14.5 minutes. At the 14.5 minute mark, all drivers will have to teleport to the pits. And with there being 14 drivers signed up for the race, the bottom 7 will have to remain in the pits for the rest of the qualifying, and their spot will be finalized, meaning after 14.5 minutes, if you're in 9th place, once you teleport to the pits, that'll be where you start the race. But after that, once the 15-minute mark hits in the qualifying session, which will be in about 9 minutes from now, the drivers in the top 7, or the top half, will be able to go back out on track and finish the qualifying for the remaining 15 minutes. This will be Q2, where all drivers will then battle it out once again to determine where they're going to start on the grid. Alright, sorry, so we are back. So just helping one of our newer drivers on the grid get acquainted to the sim. But yeah, going back to the format, once the qualifying ends, the drivers will be in a 52 lap race. So this race should last just under an hour and a half. So it should be very interesting to see where all the drivers will end up after just under an hour and a half of racing. But this is the first time for many of them in these open wheel cars in a prolonged race. There you see it from Max spinning out through that tight turn as another driver does as well. There you see 3 drivers back to back having a big spin going through, I believe that was turn 14 and 15 there, right in sector 2 of the track. But at the moment, looking at our live timings, there is 2 Leons at the top. They are different. So at the moment, David De Leon is leading the qualifying with a 137.3 in the super softs. Just behind him is Aldo in the soft tires. So for some reason, Aldo has not gone with the super softs. And at the moment, he is 1.3 seconds behind David. So David is far ahead of the pack. But other than that, we have Max at the moment in 3rd. And Victor and Tony are very close in lap times, just about 9 minutes into the qualifying. So at the moment, Victor is in 4th with a 139.93. and Tony is in fifth with a 139.949. So just 200ths separates the two drivers, and then just 2/10 behind him is Mike in sixth, and then just 1/10 behind Mike is Icaro with a 140.2. At the moment, it looks like Ant is near the back of the pack with a 140.9, but both 1 and 2, which are reservations made under Peter, those guys are currently at the bottom of the pack with no lap time set. So at the moment, 6 minutes left in the qualifying session, so still some time for those drivers to get in some clean laps, but the time is definitely ticking. But at the moment, David remains out on top as he has now entered the pit lane. You see another driver going off track. That those tight turns there in the middle of the track are definitely going to be the problem point for most of these drivers here, I think. They're definitely not easy turns, and like I said, these cars are just over 600 horsepower, so you definitely have to make sure you're careful on the throttle and you're not too late on the brakes, or else you're going to end up blocking your tires and shooting right past that turn, like we've seen many drivers do so far. So as we stay on board with Ant for a little bit here, just want to talk about these 2024 F2 cars. So these are some of the newer cars that we've added here at Apex 1. These cars are very interesting. There's a lot of new dynamics in them that haven't been in previous Formula cars. But to start with the basics, this car makes use of a 3.4 liter V6 single turbo engine. It's mounted in the rear of the car. And in terms of transmission, all drivers have a Hewlin 6-speed transmission at their hands. It's a sequential semi-automatic, of course, which paddle shifters allows all drivers to get the quickest shifts possible. But going into the power and weight numbers, the car is making just around 620 horsepower at 8,700 RPMs, and it is at that achieving 430 pound-feet of torque. The car weighs 1,700 pounds and is essentially fully made up of carbon, meaning these drivers are going to be flying around Miami. And at the moment, David is most certainly flying with the 137.3, but I'm going to go on board with Mike. Mike has just jumped up about 4 positions in qualifying. Mike Losa has set a 139.7, which will put him up in 5th, just 2/10 above Victor. So big improvement there from Mike. But going back to these cars, very light cars, tons of horsepower, and you have some Brembo 6-piston calipers at your disposal, and of course all the different Pirelli compounds to choose from. So there's a lot to these cars. They also do have DRS and plenty to do in terms of setup. So these drivers can adjust everything about the car, going all the way from the the basics such as the front and rear wing angles, but they could also change gear ratios. You could also adjust suspension setup, which includes ride height, camber and toe, and more. But just as I say that, I'm gonna jump over to Icarus. Icarus has also just jumped ahead of the pack, putting himself into third with a 138.7. So at the moment, there's just under two minutes left in the qualifying. It looks like the cutoff is 7th place. I was about to say the cutoff was Victor, but just as I said that, Mike improved on his lap with the 139.1. But Mike Losa will also improve on his lap and jump right ahead of Mike N, just as he got past Losa. So the two of them are now separated by 600ths and going back and forth in this qualifying session. But that'll leave Victor right at 7th place at the cutoff. So only a minute left in the qualifying. And right now, Victor is just the last driver that'll make it into Q2. At the moment, behind him is Victor Laduano. Victor Laduano has a 139.9, so he would have to improve on his lap by at least 6/10 in order to make it into Q2. But at the moment, it looks like this lap, he is not going to improve, and he's going to go off track. So that is going to be the end of the qualifying session for Victor as he goes off track. Tony also went off. That'll be end of qualifying for him. Ant is in the pits, as well as both Peters. So all the bottom drivers below the cutoff are in the pit lane except for Victor Laduano, although Victor did go off track, so he is not going to improve on this time. But 10 seconds left. The end of Q1 is now approaching. I'm just checking track maps. Looks like we still have 3 drivers out on track. That is David, Max, and Victor. So let me just go over to their sims, make sure that I get them in their pits so that they're following the rules, so that we could start up Q2. All right, so I was just informing all drivers, start of Q2 is now underway. So the top 7 is now back out on the track to end the qualifying session. 12.5 minutes left, and this will be a battle between the top 7 for pole position. But at the moment, David has a commanding lead, leading by 1.3 seconds. And with that, he's actually going to remain in the pits for the moment. So guys, top 7 can go back out to qualify. So we're on board with Mike now. Mike is currently in 6th on the Super Softs. There we see Aldo making his way back out on track to complete his qualifying session. At the moment, Aldo's in third. Max just had a massive jump in lap times, putting up a 137.4. That's going to move him up into second, sitting just 1/10 behind David. So at the moment, looks like Aldo has not improved on his lap time. Max is in the pits. Icarus just had a big spin. And just as I say that, Mike has a big spin as well. So a few drivers there having big spins all at once, sending them back into the pit lane. But Mike Losa is going to remain out on track, although he is not currently improving on his lap time. Looking at the sector times, we have 10 minutes left, so still plenty of time for all drivers to improve on their laps. Although it looks at the moment, no drivers are currently on a promising lap. There you see Icarus making his way back around the last few turns out of the circuit. At the moment, Icarus is in fourth with a 138.7. Losa will be crossing the line shortly, but Losa had a big spin in the middle sector, which means Losa will not improve on his lap time. At the moment, Mike is making his way past sector 3. Mike put up a fast sector 2 with a 28.3. We're going to see if Mike improves on his lap time. At the moment, it looks like he will be. Or no, it's the timings are messed up. So this is Mike's out lap, although he actually did set a fastest second sector on his out lap, surprisingly. But Max is back out on track now. Max is on his out lap, so he's going to be looking to improve by just over a 10th in order to make his way past David. But David is on track now as well. David has just completed his out lap, so this will be the start of the hot lap for David. And we're going to go on board with the current leader of the qualifying session and take a look at how Miami is driven. There's that turn where many drivers struggled, turns 14 and 15. Tight left hand followed by a complete 90-degree right-hander. A lot of drivers struggling to slow their cars down in time, but David seems to have that turn down pat, and at the moment his second sector is faster, although he locks up a little bit going down into turn 17, but David is going to make his way down, start finish straight now, but that's going to be 0.6 slower than his fastest lap. So he's going to hold on to that 137.3, which still keeps him at pole position. And Max is now making his way through the second sector, but Max looks to be about, let's see, looking at their first sector times, Max looks to be a few tenths quicker than David's time at the moment. So again, Max just needs to improve by 1/10 here. He's currently in DRS, has just activated the rear DRS wing as you see him make his way down turn 17 as he's going to quickly approach the start-finish straightaway. And we'll shortly see if he approaches, as he approaches the line, if he improves on his time. And 5.5 minutes left in qualifying now. But Max is going to cross the line, and he's not going to improve. I don't know what happened there in that second sector. Or no, it was another case of a very slow first sector. So his first sector was 26 seconds behind David. Although he did set a fast, he did improve in his second sector. It seems like he had a big mistake in his first sector, which cost him a ton of lap time. But at the moment, Aldo is in the pits as well. Or no, Mike is not in the pits anymore. Mike has now made his way out. Mike will need to improve his lap time by 4/10 in order to pass Icarus for 4th place to start the race. And a big spin there from Icarus in turns 14 and 15 that I was previously mentioning all drivers were struggling at. So that's going to kill Icarus's lap time. And Max was running fast. Max had a faster first and second sector, but he just had a big spin there, which is going to kill his lap. 4 minutes left. So still some time left for Max to finish this lap and then set another lap time if he has enough fuel left. But that's certainly going to overheat his tires. And that definitely killed this lap time that I think he was going to improve on and end up beating out David for first place. This seems to be Aldo's outlap, so we're not going to focus on him. We're going to look at Victor, though. Although just as I say that, Victor has a spin going down into, I believe that was turn 1 and 2. Yeah, turn 1 and 2, Victor had a spin. So that's going to send him back to the pit lane. At the moment, Victor Polanco is in 7th place. He would need to improve on his lap by just 1/10 in order to jump past Mike for 6th. But if he's able to improve by 2/10, he would jump past both Mikes and end up in 5th place. So 3 minutes left in the qualifying, which means Victor is going to have just enough time to complete his outlap and then get one hot lap in, as long as he makes sure both laps are clean. But I'm going to go on board with Icarus because Icarus has just set the fastest second sector of the entire grid so far. So Icarus at the moment is 4/10 quicker than his previous fastest lap, which means if he was able to pull through, that would put him ahead of Aldo. But a huge second sector there from Icarus. And David is also on a fast lap, as David has just set the fastest second sector of the grid. But Icarus is now making his way past turns 17 and 18. At the moment, he's 4.5 tenths ahead. And he is going to improve on that lap and put up a 138.5, which is going to put him ahead of Aldo De Leon. Icarus is ahead of Aldo by just just under 1/10. So great lap there from Icarus, and showing why all the margins make all the difference here at Miami, as he's able to just jump ahead of Aldo. But looks like David and Max continue to be in a world of their own, as the two of them are over a second faster than the whole rest of the grid. Max is still looking to improve on his lap time and jump ahead of David before the end of the session. At the moment, Max is running fast in his second sector, although his first sector was very slow, so this will not be a lap that Max improves on. Gonna go on board with Victor. Victor again just needs to improve by 1/10 here. The qualifying session is nearing its end, but Victor is gonna make his way past turn 17, and we'll see if Victor is able to improve on his lap time. It looks like that last turn he improves by a couple tenths, although Victor's gonna drive into the pit lane and abort his lap. I don't know why he did that, because it looks like Victor was running pretty fast there and he needed to improve on his lap in order to get out of that 7th place. So that's going to be the end of Victor's session. He's going to qualify last in Q2, although he still did make the cutoff. Made it to Q2, and Victor is going to be starting in 7th on the grid. David has now crossed the line and entered the pits. Max is in the pit lane, so I don't think Max will be improving on his time. Aldo is also in the pit lane, so Aldo misses out on 3rd place by just 600ths. But other than that, looks like all drivers are now in the pits except for Mike N. Mike would need to improve by just 600ths in order to jump over Mike Losa. So another very close battle in terms of lap times between the two drivers there, as Mike makes his way past turns 17 and 18. And Mike is going to cross the line and jump past Mike Losa. Mike put up a 138.9, which will be 2/10 quicker than Losa's 139.1, meaning Mike N will start in 5th. Losa will start the race in 6th place, and David will be starting in 1st. But all drivers are now in the pits, so that is the end of the 30-minute qualifying session. We are in a few seconds going to jump into a 4-minute intermission period where all drivers can adjust their setups, take their break before the race, get their last sips of water in, and then after the 4-minute break, we are going to get started for 52 laps in the Formula 2 cars here at the Miami International Autodrome at Apex 1. But again, David qualifies in 1st with a 137.1. Max is just under 3/10 behind David with a 137.4. Let me actually see if I can pull up the time. So there you see it. You have Max in 2nd, followed by Icarus in 3rd. In 4th will be Aldo, and then we have Mike N, Mike Losa, Victor Polanco in 7th, Victor Laduano in 8th, followed by Tony, Ant Mad, and then we have both Peters in 11th and 12th. Chris and Osvin signed up but did not show up for the race, so there will only be 12 out of 14 drivers on the grid. And then the faux kiss that you see highlighted in yellow is the commentator car that I am using to show the race. But yeah, I'm going to take a short break. It looks like the qualifying session is now over, so we're gonna have a 1.5 minute end to the qualifying, followed by, of course, that 2 minute break before the start of the race. So I will be right back, and thank you guys all for tuning in. Again, this is the F2 Miami Grand Prix, live here at Apex One, located in Westfield, New Jersey. If you haven't checked us out already, highly suggest you do so. We are a sim racing lounge. We have 14 full motion sims up and running. We also have many couches. We have projectors. So full-on lounge with some sim racing on the side. So plenty to do here. We also host many events, including F1 watch parties. We also do some car shows, endurance races, and league racing. But yeah, I will take a short break before the start of this 1.5 hour race. Just gonna walk around to make sure all the drivers are set before we get started. So we are back. It is lights out, and away we go here at Miami. David has a commanding lead at the start of the race, but there you see a few drivers going wide into turn one. As of right now, all of them are gonna keep it on track. There you see Max going off track though. Max is gonna spin and bump into Icarus. Huge mistake there from Max. That's gonna put him at the back of the pack. David now leads the race. Way out ahead. The moment, Mike is in second with Losa in third. Victor and Ant-Matt are going to go side to side going down the straightaway. Victor's going to have the run, though, going up in the inside. Although Victor's going to go wide, but Ant-Matt plays it conservative. Ant-Matt is going to make his way around the outside and is not going to complete the overtake. And just as I say that, Losa has a big spin, which is going to put him from fifth all the way to the back of the pack, almost to the back of the pack. Losa is now in 11th. Huge mistake there from Losa. That's going to cost him a ton of time. Aldo had to start the race from the pits. Aldo is in 8th at the moment, although Aldo is quickly approaching Peter. Although the two of them have a collision and are going to spin going into turn 17, almost bang into Ant, who also spun. Aldo now makes his way into the pits. I think Aldo had some damage. Bunch of chaos there in the start, but Anthony is going to attempt an overtake on Max. And Mad locks up a ton there and is not going to be able to complete the overtake. And that lockup is going to make way for Icarus to go around Ant. Icarus is now in 6th in that Apex GP F1 movie F2 livery. Clean move there from Icarus. Clean and easy move due to the mistake from Ant. Max had a great qualifying, starting the race in 2nd, although the start of the race has been a much different story for Max. He had a huge spin and collision at the start, and Max is now going to get overtaken from Icarus, and Max slams into Icarus. Max's car gets sent upside down, which is going to send Max into the pits. That's going to jump Max ahead of everyone, although now that'll put him a lap down due to teleporting. Very aggressive there from Max and Icarus. And Max got the short end of that one. That sends Max a lap down. A brutal start to the race for him, as Icarus now holds into 5th. But just as I say that, David has entered the pit lane. I think David got a drive-through. Let me just look around really quick and make sure everyone's okay. I will be right back. So I'm back. Looks like I don't know what happened with David there, but Victor is gonna have a huge collision with Icarus, which is gonna make way for Mike to move into second. Huge collision from the two drivers going down into turn 17. We're only on lap 4 in this race, but we've already seen plenty of chaos so far, and looks like all drivers are pretty much everywhere now. It looks like sorry, I was just seeing a message at the top. Wanted to make sure that was all good, but Anthony had a big mistake there. Anthony spun. So Anthony has a spin. At the moment, Anson's 7th. But Aldo, what happened? We're back again. So one of our drivers had a jump start, so he had a penalty. But we're gonna go on board in the battle for 5th place here on lap 5. This is a battle between Icarus and Mike Losa, although Icarus is gonna bump into the back of Losa, which is gonna make way for Aldo to go past both of them. Icarus is going to get the worst end of that, as that's going to lose him about 3 positions there and put him down back into 9th. Losa has been put back into 6th, previously being in 5th. But Icarus has lost a few positions, but he's right on the doorsteps of Tony, as Tony's going to lock up in turn 17, and that's going to make way for Icarus to go right through up on the inside and get the overtake for P8 heading into lap 6 here at Miami. Good move there from Icarus, taking advantage of the mistake there from Tony. Looks like the gaps between some of the other drivers have widened a bit. Although just as I say that, Losa has a spin, which is going to knock him down from 7th place down into 9th. Losa is going to spin again, trying to get back out on track. His medium tires, I'm sure, are going to be completely overheated by now. Many drivers have gotten hours of practice before the race, but it looks like they're definitely treating this like a sprint race. I tried to remind them all, it's a 52 lap race. It's going to be just under an hour and a half. You don't have to fight and go all out at the start of the race, especially with these cold tires. But it seems like many of these drivers have decided to treat it like a 10 or 15 lap sprint race, and many of them have seen the consequences because of it. So David was the fastest driver at the end of the qualifying session, and David holds a commanding lead, just over 7 seconds in the lead. Mike was not one of the faster drivers in qualifying, although Mike has shown his consistency as well as his racecraft, and just keeping it out of trouble. Mike has found himself in second place 7 laps into this race here at Miami. And Victor, it looks like Victor also had a very rough start to the race, but Victor has kept it more consistent than most other drivers out on the grid. And at the moment, Victor is in third, which I'm sure he would be pleased with in that GR Formula 2 car. But plenty of time left in the race. Pit stops are not mandatory, although I'm sure most drivers will be making a pit stop for tires and possibly fuel as well. Aldo, who's in 5th place, has already pitted twice now. I think one of them was to serve a penalty, and another one was after lap 1 to repair some damage on his car. But other than that, it looks like David has actually also made a pit stop despite being so far ahead in this race. But other than that, no other drivers have made a pit stop. Actually, excuse me, 2 other drivers have. 2 drivers near the bottom of the pack, which is Max and Peter. But just as I pan over to Max, looks like Max, who was the second fastest driver at the end of qualifying, though he's a lap down and currently 11th on the grid. Max is now approaching Peter, and he will be looking to make an overtake soon so that he could start to get in clean air and hopefully get closer to the rest of the pack. But at the moment, it looks like Peter will be holding him back. Peter's last lap was a 152. Max's last lap was a 142. So could be wrong on this prediction, but I think we'll be seeing an overtake from Max possibly on this lap. But just as I say that, looks like Aldo and Vic switched positions for a moment there. But the 2 of them are now very close and in a battle for P3. But just as I say that, Ant-Mad had a collision with Icarus, another collision that Icarus is involved with. Ant screaming his frustration as he is now turned the wrong way. That's going to put Ant down into 8th place. But going back on board with Aldo now, this is the battle for 3rd between Aldo and Vic. So I did miss it, but I think Max must have had a spin because he was not able to pass Peter on that last lap. Don't know what happened there from Max. We did miss it, but there's 2 battles going on right now. At the moment, Icarus and Ant are battling it out as another driver's involved. Huge chaos there. Icarus is going to get the worst end of that. Los is going to spin at the tail end of that battle, and Ant's going to make his way past. And just as I say that, Victor spins, and Aldo is going to move into 3rd place. We missed that spin there from them as Ant, Vic, and Mike Losa all were going 3 wide down into turn 17. And just as I was showing that, Victor and Aldo ended up finally battling it out, and Aldo got the better end of that battle, moving him up into third. Victor Laduano is currently in second, 4 seconds ahead of Aldo De Leon, and David De Leon remains the leader of the race, 21 seconds out ahead now for David. So David has a huge gap on the medium tires. Looks like most drivers have decided to elect with the medium tires, besides a few. I did see one driver off track there, although I don't know who that was. But it looks like Mike N decided to go with the soft, as well as Peter. I also know Max started on the soft tire, although Max made a pit stop after a big spin and collision. Max is now on the medium tire. So all drivers on the mediums, besides a few, but tons of chaos here at Miami so far. We're only 10 laps down, ladies and gentlemen. We still have 42 laps to go. So plenty of action left here. But at the moment, it looks like the gaps have increased by a little bit. So it looks like Victor Laduano, who's in second, is soon going to be approaching a blue flag driver. This is going to be Peter in that pink Alpine F2. Peter is a lap down. Victor is now getting held back. And Peter spins. Victor makes his way past. And Aldo is compromised a ton. I was just getting ready to say that the blue flag driver was allowing Aldo in third place to catch up from to Victor, but just as I say that, Aldo gets the worst end of the spin there from Peter, which is going to cost Aldo about a second there. Aldo is now a second and a half behind Victor in the battle for P2, but the two drivers there already approaching their first blue flag driver here on lap 11. I think we're going to see a lot more blue flags throughout the duration of the race, but Victor remains on top at the moment. Looking at Tony is currently in 6th place, sitting just over 2 seconds behind Mike in the battle for 5th. 4 seconds ahead of Mike is Victor. Peter has made his way into the pits. I don't know if he's fixing his car or what, but we're going to go back on board with Aldo here. The battle for P2 is now heating up, and Aldo is improving as each sector goes by, and he is going to make his way around the outside of Victor, and Aldo is going to complete the overtake, making his way down into turn 14. The tight left and then quick right-hand turn there. Aldo has been improving over the course of the last 2 laps, and Aldo has now made his way past Victor Laduano for P2. And just as I say that, the battle between Ant and Icarus has heated up once again. This is the battle for P7. Ant is out ahead, but Icarus is going to push it. Icarus has now spun, trying to push his medium tires, which is going to leave Ant out ahead going into turn 14. Aldo is also way out ahead of Victor, and Victor is going to spin going into turn 1. Huge mistake there from Victor. Mike now enters the pits, which is going to bring him down from 5th all the way down into 9th place. There you see how close the margins are. Mike deciding to pit, which loses him about 5 positions there. And Victor is now side by side with Victor Polanco, but Victor had a huge spin. I don't know what's happening. Miami is pure chaos so far. Only 12 laps into the race. I tried to warn the drivers it's an endurance race, most drivers were here over an hour before the start, and I saw maybe one, maybe two spins at most over the course of that hour, but I think the pressure is getting to them. These F2 cars are proving to be too much, and the pressure from all drivers is proving to be too much. Mike is in fourth, although Victor is just behind him. I've now lost track of all the positions. I don't know who's blue flagged. I don't know who's fighting for position. All I know is that a lot of these drivers are very close. Tony is in sixth. Although, I don't know who is around Tony. I think those are blue flag drivers. It has to be. Because Ant is in seventh, although Ant is 13 seconds behind Tony. Mike has just made his way past Peter, although Mike locks up going into turn 17, which means Peter's going to make his way past. Although Peter slows down immediately, which means Mike is going to make his way past Peter once again. Pure chaos here at Miami. Only 13 laps down. We're not even a quarter of the way into this race, and we've already seen plenty of spins and collisions so far. At the moment, David still holds the lead, and his gap is only growing. He is now in the lead by 30 seconds. David also holds the fastest lap of the race with a 1:39.1. David has already made his pit stop, so I think we'll be seeing at least one more pit stop here from David. Victor as well as Mike have not made their pit stops, and Mike continues to remain out on those soft tires. So I think we should be seeing some degradation soon from Mike. But Victor is now under a second behind Mike, and Victor's is now approaching the DRS zone, which means I think we're going to be seeing an overtake soon from Victor here over Mike. And we're going to go on board with Victor as he makes his way past the DRS zone of Sector 2. Victor is now going to approach the second DRS zone. He's going to approach a move on the inside of Mike, but he's going to get too aggressive, and Victor's going to tap the rear wheel of Mike. A huge mistake there from Victor as Tony now makes his way past. Victor is now in sixth. I've lost track of the amount of overtakes and positions lost and gained that we've seen so far at Miami, and just as I say that, Mike has gone off track. Max again. Max was one of the faster drivers at the end of the qualifying session, qualifying in P2, but he had a minor collision in lap 1, and then in lap 2 his race just turned into complete chaos. Had a huge collision, put him in the back of the pack. He's been trying to make an overtake over Peter for a few laps now, but I think Max's tires have been overheated, and just as I say that, commentators curse. Max has been trying to make the overtake for about 4 laps, and just as I say that, Peter has a massive spin. Max makes his way past. Mike also spins. Ant is gonna now be held up from Mike, but Max has now moved up into P9. Anthony, who's in P7, is a lap ahead of Mike, so Mike is gonna hopefully get out of the way there from Ant. The two drivers are only separated from 4 positions in 7th and 11th, although Mike is a lap down on Anthony. So I think that shows just how much chaos there's been after only 15 laps here at Miami. There you see Peter once again locking up. A huge spin behind Anthony there. I believe that was Peter. Peter's now recovered though. So again, David remains in the lead, although Aldo has set the fastest lap of the race with the 138.9. Aldo is now 27 seconds behind David. So still a huge gap between the two drivers, although he's managed to cut down that gap a little bit over the course of the last 2 laps. Victor Laduano is in 3rd place at the moment, with Mike N 3 seconds behind in 4th. In 5th place we have Tony, and then followed by him is Victor, who is now just over a second behind Tony in the battle for P5. Ant and Losa are once again battling it out, although they are not battling it out for position. Losa's in 10th at the moment. Peter's just lost a position going into the pits. Anthony is struggling to get around Mike, although Anthony is a lap ahead of Mike, so this is going to be holding back Anthony quite a bit. Anthony is 16 seconds behind Victor. He would need to make up 16 seconds in order to overtake Victor for P6. But at the moment, Anthony's going to be hoping that Victor and Tony battle it out in the upcoming laps in the battle for P5 as Victor gets closer and closer. Although Victor has not been able to improve on this lap, meaning Tony is just going to be able to build ahead on his gap for P5. So we see both drivers locking up going into turn 17, but I think Victor got the better of that exchange. Victor is now slightly closer to Aldo. Victor's in the slipstream of Aldo, or sorry, Tony, not Aldo. Victor had DRS enabled as well. He flirted with a move for a quarter of a second, but he's not going to attempt the move. Although we're going to go on board with Victor there, as Aldo slowed down a lot. Or sorry, Tony slowed down a lot. Keep confusing the two drivers, but Victor has now made his way past Tony for P6. Just looking at the timing board, David has not improved on his lap time. Aldo is on a fastest lap, so Aldo seems to be running very fast. And just as we go on board with Victor Laduano, we see a big spin there from Peter as his other boy spins entering the pit lane. A huge mistake there. This is going to cost him a ton of time as he tries to reverse and make his way into the pit lane. At the moment, he's in 11th place. He is going to pit for quite a bit of repairs there, at the least. I think he's also going to be hoping to change tires as well as fuel. Another driver has spun there. That was Losa. Losa was in 10th. Losa is another driver having a very tough race so far. So we're about a third of the way into this race, but many drivers have already had a ton of spins, including Losa, who just spun and is now sitting in 10th place. But I'm going to go on board with Mike. At the moment, Mike is in 4th. Mike is sitting 8/10 behind Victor Laduano in the battle for third. Their last laps, Victor Laduano put up a 141.9 and Mike put up a 141.0. So Mike improved 9/10 over Victor Laduano on the last lap. If he's able to maintain this pace and hope for more mistakes from Victor, I think we're going to be seeing Mike getting in the slipstream of Victor very soon and possibly be getting an overtake as we approach lap 20 of 52 here at Miami. And there you see Mike. Mike flirted with the move for a second. I think he got a little anxious there, braking a bit later than Victor. Mike locked up. You saw him get a little loose on his front tires. He was able to maintain control of the car though, and was able to avoid a collision with Victor. I heard a huge sigh of relief there from Mike. That was a huge moment in the race from him. Definitely getting over eager, trying to brake a bit too late, but is able to maintain control of that car, and more importantly, avoid a huge collision with Victor. Plenty of time left in the race for both drivers. Both drivers, I'm sure, will also be needing to make another pit stop, but Mike is on that more aggressive soft tire compound compared to Victor on the mediums, although Mike clips the wall. Oh no! No! A huge mistake from Mike! A very unconventional mistake from Mike! Mike clipped the wall going down the straightaway and loses 2 positions there. Concedes to both Victor and Tony. Oh my god, Mike was looking to make an overtake soon. I don't think I've ever seen an incident like that in a race here at Apex. I think Mike just lost focus. I think that DRS might have caused him from some turbulence there too. But I think Mike has lost control of his car now. Gonna make sure that Mike is all okay. Alright, so we're back. Just want to catch up everything that's going on. We have a few drivers entering the pits now. Although Anthony is making his way closer to Icarus. So yeah, we saw Mike having a very strange and unconventional incident on the straightaway, and then he teleported to the pits. Just wanted to make sure there was no issues from Mike's end, and there weren't. Unfortunately, it was just a driver error from Mike. I think he lost a little bit of focus, smashed into the wall, and then had huge suspension damage to the point where Mike wasn't even able to drive straight. So there you see the brutality and how quick your race can turn around in these endurance races. It's a 1.5 hour race. Mike was looking amazing, although I'm going to pause right there as Icarus goes very wide, and Ant is going to make his way around the inside of Icarus. The two of them going wheel to wheel, but Ant is now going to go ahead. A big mistake there from Icarus. Overshoots the turn, which is going to cost him P5. And just as I say that, Mike has now lost control again and is going to lose out on position to Losa. But just as I was saying before, the brutality of these races, Mike Mike was in 4th place, just behind Victor. Mike was just like 2/10 behind Victor, looking to possibly make an overtake for P3. And then Mike had just a simple mistake going down the straightaway, and now Mike's in 10th. But just as I say that, Icarus has a huge run over Ant going down turn 1, and I think Ant bashes into the wall. Icarus has now made his way past Ant once again. I think Icarus has been showing his pace throughout the race, although he hasn't been the most consistent, which has lost him a few positions. When he's gotten in the groove of things, Icarus has shown his pace and has gotten overtakes over some of the best drivers here at Apex 1. And just as I say that, Ant has a spin, which means Tony is going to make his way past Anthony, and Tony is now on the doorsteps of Icarus. Or sorry, that was not Icarus. That was one of the blue flag drivers. I believe that was, let's see. That was Max. Max in 8th place, getting lapped there from Tony. So, there you see just how confusing this race has been. You would think from the gaps, you know, Tony's in 6th, Max is in 8th, and Tony has just lapped Max. You would think from the size of some of these gaps that it's a boring race, but boring is the last word that I would use to describe this race. We've had overtakes, spins, tire lockups, pretty much everything on virtually every lap of this race so far. And just as I say that, Victor Polanco is right on the doorsteps of Victor Laduano. Victor Laduano has been in P3 for a while, but Victor is going to make use of that slipstream and DRS, and is going to make an overtake down the inside of Victor Laduano. Beautiful and clean move there from Victor, as he is going to claim P3. And Victor Laduano is going to get eager. I think he tried to get over aggressive, tried to push it too much, feeling the pressure from Victor, and Victor Laduano is going to spin it going into turn 14, which is going to increase the gap between the two Victors in the battle for P3, and that's going to make way for Icarus, who's in P5, to get closer to Victor Laduano now. Although Icarus is still 16 seconds behind, Icarus has had quite a few very fast laps in the race, so should be very interesting to see how this race unfolds. Looks like over half the grid has already made one pit stop, but we're not even halfway through this race, so I think we're going to be seeing some pit stops from many more of our drivers. And at the moment, David is in the lead by 27 seconds, although Aldo holds the fastest lap of the race. Both drivers electing to start in the medium tires, so pretty even comparison there from the two of them. We're now on board with Mike, although Max just had a spin. I was just going to say Mike is in P9, but Max just had a spin, which means Mike is now in P8. And for the third time tonight, we see Mike, who's the lap driver, putting a ton of pressure on Anthony. Although just as I say that, Mike has a spin, which means Max is going to jump out ahead once again. Mike was pushing it, trying to get ahead of Anthony, although Mike was a lap down on Anthony. But Max has now jumped ahead of Mike, and Max is now in P8. Mike is now in P9, although Max locks up his tires and goes wide into that turn. like finally, for the first time after 25 laps, we're going to be approaching the halfway mark. But I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to post over on our Instagram, linking our live stream. If you guys don't follow us on Instagram, give us a follow, apex1.nj. That is where we post all our events, leagues, and upcoming competitions that we will be hosting. But I'll be right back to post a quick Instagram story. But in the meantime, because I don't think we have any close gaps. Actually, no. Yeah, we'll go on board with David, who is the leader of the race. We'll go on board with David for a little bit. Just as I say that, though, Icarus had a big spin, which means Tony is now just a second behind Icarus. So this is going to be now the battle for P5. I will be back in just a moment, and we're going to remain on board with Tony as he tries to get closer to Icarus in the battle for P5. Alright, so we are back. Just trying to catch up with where all the drivers are at in terms of intervals, lap times, and all that. It's hard to tell now because from 5th place all the way down, all those drivers are at least one lap down from the leader. So it is a little bit hard to see what the gaps are. Although Icarus just has a big spin, which is going to make way for both Tony and Anthony to go ahead. I was just going to go on board with Max as Max was approaching Anthony, but Icarus has spun again, which has now moved Icarus into 7th place. Big mistake there from Icarus, costing him 2 positions just as we got past the halfway point in the race. Looks like most of our drivers have made their pit stops. Victor Ladwano, who's in 4th, has not made his pit stop, as well as Anthony and Icarus as well have not made their pit stops so far. But other than that, all drivers have made at least 1 pit stop. Aldo, who's in 2nd, has made 2 pit stops, although that first one was due to him starting in the race in the pits. And I will be right back because I just heard Icarus calling for help. Alright, so Icarus, I think, will be making his pit stop on this lap. He was just asking me about his pit menu, how to do the controls. So I think that means we'll be seeing Icarus make his pit stop as he gets a little squirmy there into that turn. I heard Ant screaming over from his sim. I think Ant had a little bit of a slide as well, though Ant didn't lose control, so not too much of a mistake there from Anthony. Looks like Victor Polanco in third place has also entered the pits, so it should be interesting to see where he comes out. Looks like Victor Laduano has passed him. Tony Abrams is going to be approaching the start-finish straight in a few seconds, but it's not going to be enough because Victor Polanco is now exiting the pits. He has just lost one position from that pit stop, and Icarus is just behind Anthony now. Two of them were going to start the battle for P6, it looks like, although Icarus has decided to enter the pit lane. Let me go over and make sure that he's all set. Just making sure Icarus was all good. He decided to add a little bit more fuel than what he originally planned on. I think he's feeling the heat of the race and just decided to play conservative. But there's a big battle now between Mike, Anthony, and I believe that's Max just behind Mike. This is the battle for P7, 8, and 9. Max is now behind Anthony. Mike gets ahead of Anthony. A very quick overtake there from Mike and a beautiful move, although both Mike and Max are a lap down on Anthony. So Anthony is in between the two drivers now, battling for P8, although Anthony's a lap ahead. So this is a very interesting dynamic, and Max is going to attempt a very aggressive and bold overtake on the inside as he brakes very late, and he's going to complete the move. Anthony is now entering the pit lane, but a crazy move there from Max as he brakes way later than Ant. And Max now has his eyes on Mike, although Ant had a big collision entering the pit lane. That might cost him some time having to repair the body of his car. I don't know if he's going to elect to repair the damage, but reckless pit lane entry there from Ant. But just as I say that, Victor, who is in fourth, has a huge spin going down into turn 14. Victor's going to hold on to the position as Tony, who's in fifth, is still pretty far back behind. But that most certainly was not a spin Victor was looking to have 30 laps into this race. 22 laps to go for all drivers, but plenty of chaos here at Miami. David remains out in the lead by 32 seconds, and Aldo remains in second with a gap of, let's see, Looks like Aldo has about a 1 lap gap over Victor. But at the moment, the other Victor Laduano, has now entered the pit lane. I'm just taking a look over at Tony's screen. Okay, so Victor has exited. Tony is out of the pit lane. This is Mike Losa now approaching driver. This is TOR, the driver in 12th. This is one of the Peters. Mike is a lap ahead, and Peter is going to make his way down in the inside and is going to slow down for Mike to make his way past Peter. There you see some good driving there from Peter as he respects the blue flags and allows Mike to get through cleanly through the DRS zone. But gonna look to see if we have any other close gaps. Looks like Tony and Victor are separated by 2 seconds at the moment. This is a battle for 4th place. Victor's last lap was a 2:01 due to the pit stop. Tony's last lap was a 1:43. So Victor's on fresher tires, but colder tires than Tony. Although Victor is on faster, more aggressive tires. So I don't know if that compound will last him the duration of the race. But Victor Polanco, who's in 3rd, has elected to go with the super soft tires. So I don't know how long this is going to last him. Victor is now, I believe, on his 4th lap on these super soft tires. But I know that these are a qualifying tire. And you could see it in the lap times. Victor set the fastest first sector of the entire grid, and he also improved on his second sector. At the moment, Victor's delta is 1/10 quicker than David's, but 1/10 quicker than Aldo's. So Aldo still holds the fastest lap of the race with the 1:38.6. But Victor deciding to go on the super soft, I think he's going to end up getting fastest lap, although that doesn't matter because it's not a league. It's just a one-off endurance. The only thing that matters now is position. And Victor has just crossed line with the 1:39.1, so still not fastest lap of the race. Although Victor spins just as I'm checking the timing board. And that's going to cost Victor all the time that he made up on that more aggressive compound. In addition to that, I'm sure those tires are going to be overheated. And I know for a fact those tires are not going to last 20 laps. So at the moment, 10 seconds separates Victor Polanco and Victor Laduano in the battle for P3. But I do think Victor Polanco is going to have to make at least one more pit stop in the race to change his tires, but Victor Laduano may have to make a pit stop as well. At the moment, he is 3 laps out on his soft tires, but yeah, he is also on a very aggressive compound, although not as aggressive as Victor. And just as I say that, Victor had another mistake, locks up his tires, so he's in 3rd place, but he is very much struggling in those super soft tires. So that's only going to make way for the other drivers to get closer. But Tony Abrams is also getting closer to Victor Laduano. 2 seconds separates the 2 drivers. And Tony's last lap was 0.8 quicker than Victor's last lap. So if Tony is able to remain
consistent, I think he's going to only get closer and closer to Victor in the battle for P4, as we now have 18 laps remaining in this Grand Prix in the F2 cars here at Miami at Apex North.
So it looks like Tony has put up a faster second sector. That's his fastest second sector of the race. Although his last lap time was 7/10 slower than Victor's, there is now 1.5 seconds that separates the two drivers. So Tony still has a lot of work to do, but 18 laps left to go, still plenty of time left in the race. And yeah, again, I'm sure all drivers are going to have to make at least one more pit stop before the end of the race. But looks like all drivers are out on track at the moment. Peter looks to be getting close to Mike, although Peter is 1 lap behind Mike, so this won't matter too much, even if Peter is able to get an overtake on Mike. But David has now increased his gap to 40 seconds. So very, very commanding lead from David so far. And he has shown his dominance in these F2 cars. But Aldo has also shown his consistency in these cars. Him and David have been some of the only drivers on the grid that have not avoided all incidents and chaos, but have avoided at least 99% of the incidents, which is the reason why these two drivers are so far out ahead. But besides the two of them, Victor is also looking at a good result if he's able to hold on to this. At the moment, Victor is in P3, and he is now 12 seconds ahead of Victor Laduano, as Victor Laduano, I believe, must have had a big spin, which has only put Tony closer. As Tony, there you can see from the bottom of the screen, Tony has set his fastest first and second sector of his race so far. So Tony looks to be getting faster in those medium tires, although he is at a slight disadvantage over Victor, who's in the soft tire compound. And I just heard a big scream from Ant Sim. There you see Ant. Ant is off track. A tough race from Ant so far. He's not going to lose any positions from that because he was already a lap down from the driver behind him. But certainly not a mistake Ant would have been hoping to have there. But we're going to go back on board with Tony now because the battle between these two drivers has only heated up, as Tony is now just under 1 second behind Victor in the battle for P4. So I want to mention the last laps between the two drivers, Victor's last lap was his fastest of the session, clearly feeling the pressure from Tony. Victor went out and set a 140.7, while Tony set a 140.9. So not too far off, although still 2/10 is a lot when you're talking about just a few tenths that separates these drivers. And at the moment, the gap between the two of them is 5/10 with 16 laps to go. But Tony has just improved on his lap time, setting a 140.3. That's his fastest lap of the race. I think he's feeling the slipstream effects here from Victor. Tony is now right on the doorsteps of Victor, and Tony is going to be looking to make a move very soon. Tony is soon going to be approaching the DRS zone, and he's going to be hoping to feel the effects of that slipstream and the DRS as he makes his way down into the second sector. The battle for P4 is now heating up with 15 laps left to go here at Miami. Victor is struggling to hold on, and Tony is now making his way down the straightaway, looking to make a run down the outside, although Tony is going to brake late, but Victor is going to play it conservative. Tony is going to make his way down on the inside. Victor brakes way too late. Tony is going to make the overtake going into P14, although he's going to jump over the curb. There you see both of the front two tires going into the air, which means Victor is going to have the better run going down into the straightaway. Victor is now slightly ahead, making his way down the longest straight here at Miami, also one of the longest straights on the F1 calendar, as Victor is going to make his way ahead, although Tony is just on the inside. The battle continues to heat up. Tony made an overtake for just under a second. Tony is now making his way down the inside again. Once again, completes overtake and swaps positions between Victor and himself in the battle for P4. 15 laps to go. Tony is now ahead of Victor. Victor was feeling the pressure for the last 5 or so laps. Tony was approaching the rear wing of Victor, and finally he has completed the overtake, and that is now P4 for Tony. Two drivers there going back and forth on lap 37, although the two of them keep it clean, and at the moment Tony has the edge, although Victor is not far back behind, and Victor is going to be looking to get right back into this battle. Very, very intense and tight racing between all drivers, but we're going to focus on this battle and go on board with Victor Laduano here as he makes his way down the inside of Tony. Victor now has the quicker run down the longer straightaway, making use again of that DRS, but this time it's going to pay off for Victor as he passes Tony for P4. Victor's able to hold the outside as Tony locks up. So, Aldo's not in the pits. Sorry, false indication. I thought Aldo entered the pits. All drivers are still out on track. Although Tony
remains on the doorsteps of Victor Ladwano. There you see Tony just a few tenths behind Victor. The two drivers are now approaching turn 17. Victor is going to defend his line on the inside, and Tony's going to go for a better run on the outside. Tony, I think, tapped Victor. Wow. Huge incident there. Victor, I'm just looking over at Victor's sim as he's able to recover. That will have to be a post-race review. Lap 40 incident between Tony and Victor, but huge incident there as the two drivers were battling it out for P4, and at the moment Tony is going to come out ahead. So Max, who's had an unfortunate race so far, is looking to get the move over Mike, and he will be able to do so, as Mike is just going to slow down and concede the position to Max. But yeah, Max again has not had the race he's been hoping for, but still 12 laps to go, still some time left for Max to make up some positions. But at the moment, Max is in P8. Ahead of him is Anthony in P7, and David is now in the lead by over a minute. So again, very commanding race from David so far as he continues to dominate Miami International. But Mike is 1.5 seconds behind Max. And other than that, it seems to be the closest gap we have between all the drivers here on the grid.
All right, so we're back. I was just helping Aldo with a pit stop, but the battle for first, ladies and gentlemen, the battle for first may be heating up. Both David and Aldo have made their pit stops. The gap has now massively decreased. I believe if my timing board is right, the gap is just over 5 seconds between Aldo and David in the battle for P1. But Victor, the pit stops from both drivers also made way for Victor to go past. Although Victor has a slight spin. I don't think, no, that's not Tony. So this is not a battle for position right here. This is, trying to look over at the board here. This is Victor and Mike Losa. Mike Losa's in 10th right now, but Mike Losa has a spin, which is going to be good news for Victor, because although Victor has to cut the chicane and slow down a lot, there you see some good courtesy driving from Victor. I don't know if he sensed that we were watching the broadcast, but Victor slowed down there, cutting the chicane a lot. But that's going to be a big mistake there from him and cost him a ton of time. But yeah, David had a 1 minute lead, and I don't know what happened, if my timing board was messed up or what. But as you could see, there is David just making his way around turn 1, and here is Aldo making his way around turn 1. So the two drivers have pitted at the same time, and now only 3.5 seconds separates the two drivers. Aldo's fastest lap is just under 2/10 quicker than David's fastest lap. So it looks like at maximum potential, Aldo is a bit faster than David. Both drivers are on the medium compounds. So this is going to be a battle until the very end. 9 laps remaining. Aldo has just set the fastest first sector of the entire race. So this battle is most certainly going to heat up, as Aldo is only getting closer to David. And I believe, so Victor's in 3rd, but I believe we're going to be seeing Victor pit soon. Victor has done 16 laps on these tires, and he is on the super softs. So I'm actually going to run over and take a look at Victor's sim to see what his tire life is, because I am very curious after 16 laps on these super soft tires. All right, so Victor has about 55% life in his front tires, but his back tires have 39 to 35%, which means they are now in the red zone. And within the next 1 to 2 laps, Victor is going to be starting to see his tires really compromised. His tires are really going to start to wear down as the laps progress, and I think we're going to be needing to see Victor make a pit stop soon, but I do not think he'll be able to finish the race on these super soft tires. It looks like Tony has an 18-second gap to Victor, so the pit stop in Miami I think is just going to be over that. So I think Tony might be making an overtake over Victor, as Victor will most likely make his way into the pit lane. But I want to go back to the battle between David and Aldo. So Aldo, we missed it, but Aldo, I think, had a huge spin going into either turn 1 or somewhere in the first sector. Aldo's first sector was 4 seconds slower than David's. So Aldo's last lap was just under 2 seconds faster than David's, but Aldo just had a huge spin in the first sector, which means David now has a 5-second gap to Aldo. So although Aldo was improving on his laps, he is pushing it
to the limit, and he unfortunately saw the consequences there of pushing it too hard, and he does have 7 laps to go, so still has some time left, but not too much time, and he's most certainly going to be hoping from some mistakes here from David as David approaches the final few laps here at Miami. This is not a battle for position. This is Max about to unlap himself over Victor Ladwano. There you see Max proving his pace. Although Max is in 8th, Max is most certainly one of the quicker drivers here on the grid and shows that as he unlaps himself seamlessly and flawlessly over Victor Ladwano. Max's fastest lap of the race is a 139.7, which I believe puts him in 4th place in terms of fastest laps. So although he hasn't been able to avoid the chaos and hasn't been the most consistent, he has been one of the faster drivers here. But Mike has now entered the pits. Mike is in 9th. Losa is behind him in 10th, so we'll be seeing if that allows Losa to get past Mike. And there you see it. Aldo, once again, is pushing his car to the limit. Aldo has just set the fastest 1st, 2nd, and 3rd sector of the entire track and has put up the fastest lap of the race with a 137.6. That is 1.1 seconds quicker than David's fastest lap of a 138.7. Aldo is now flying. I'm looking over at his tires. All of them are at the ideal range. Aldo's last lap was also 1.1 seconds faster than David's fastest lap. The gap between the two drivers is now just under 2 seconds, and Aldo is going to be looking to make a move hopefully soon over David. But the battle for P1 is now heating up as we now have 6 laps left here at Miami, and David is most certainly going to be feeling the pressure from Aldo, as Aldo is currently 1/10 quicker than David's current lap. So Aldo continues to improve. 1.5 seconds is now the gap between the two drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a fireworks ending here at Apex 1. This is our first open wheel endurance race, but it is the daylight here at Miami. But yeah, we're certainly going to be seeing the fireworks go off at the ends, and I think we're going to be seeing a battle for P1 on the very last lap. But looking at the last laps as both drivers cross the line, David's last lap was a 141.2. So David definitely had a spin and is definitely feeling the pressure from Aldo. Aldo's last lap was a 138.4. So 2.5 seconds quicker between Aldo's last lap and David's last lap. And again, 1.5 seconds now separates the two drivers with 5 laps left to go in this race. And this battle is only going to get more interesting. I'm going to go on board with David now. David is now approaching Peter. Peter's a blue flag driver, currently sitting in 11th place. But both drivers are now going to be approaching a blue flag driver, which is only going to make way for David to get closer. But for Victor to get closer. But there you see David making his way past the blue flag driver, as well as Aldo. I think that was Victor ahead of them, who went wide. But again, Aldo in second, David in first. Aldo and David have both made their way past the blue flag driver. 1.5 seconds still separates the two drivers, and 4 laps remaining here at Miami. The battle is heating up. The last lap from David was a 138.7. The last lap from Aldo was a 138.1. So again, Aldo keeps getting quicker. Both drivers are now 7 laps into these medium tires. But Victor, who's in third, remains out on track. Victor Polanco has now driven 21 laps on these super softs. I don't know how he is still managing these tires, although his last lap was about 2 seconds off his average. So I do think he's starting to slow down. But we are back on board now with Aldo. This is the battle for P1 in our first open wheel Grand Prix. Aldo once again set a faster last lap than David. David's last lap was a 138.9. Aldo's last lap was a 138.3. The gap between the two drivers is now just under a second, which means Aldo is most certainly going to be feeling the effects of that slipstream, and that DRS is most certainly going to be giving him an advantage over David down into the long straightaways. And sorry, I just missed it going over to one of our drivers, but Aldo has now passed David for the lead in this race. Aldo is now the leader of the race. 51 laps down, 52 laps in total in this race. We have 2 laps remaining, but Aldo has now taken the lead. David has now fallen back into second, but a commanding drive from Aldo. His consistency has put the pressure onto David, and Aldo is now leading the race with just 2 laps left to go. But other than that, the gaps seem to be pretty big, although Mike and Peter are pretty close. Peter is a lap behind though, although Mike is just 1 second behind Anthony. Mike now has Mike now has 2 laps to go in order to try and make his overtake over Anthony for P8. But at the moment, so our timing board is off, but Aldo is leading this race.
So there you see it. 1 lap to go. I don't know what's up with the timing board now. But yeah, we are now approaching the final lap of this race. Oh, so Aldo had to pit. So I missed it, but yeah, David was a lap ahead. So David, yeah, sorry for the confusion there, but David appears to have crossed the line now, and David is the winner of the F2 Miami Grand Prix. Yeah, so David was a lap ahead. Aldo has yet to cross the line. The timing board's a little messed up, being on the last lap. But yeah, some of our other drivers are now crossing the line. But Aldo has held off P1. I apologize for the glitch here in the timing board. But yeah, it appears that David has crossed the line for P1, and Aldo will soon be approaching the end of his race. And there you see Aldo crossing the line to claim P2. Victor claims P3. So there you see the final positions. Victor, I'm going to have to give a very big shout out to Victor Polanco. Victor went 25 laps, just under half the race. 25 laps in the super soft tire. I know he was feeling the effects of that tire towards the last few laps of the race, but Victor was able to hold on to it and was able to hold on to P3. So congratulations to David, Aldo, and Victor for their podiums. And besides that, Tony finished in P4, Victor Laduano finished in P5, Icarus in P6, followed by Max, Anthony, Michael, and then both Peters. So that is the end of the broadcast. Thank you guys all for tuning in. It was a very intense stream and a very intense race. It was personally one of my favorite endurance races that we've done so far. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. We will be doing another endurance race in about a month from now. And we will be taking a short break from competitions for about 3 weeks. We will be starting up our next GT300 league, as well as our next F4 league in about the next 3 weeks. So if you guys are interested in participating in those leagues, take a look, check out our Instagram, apex1.nj. We have all the info posted up for those leagues on our Instagram, as well as the sign-up links for those leagues. But those leagues will be running on Wednesdays as well as Sundays at 8 p.m. And yeah, sign-up links for those are up on our Instagram. But that will be all for tonight, and thank you guys